Hello, everybody. Welcome in, welcome one, welcome all. I hope you're having a great day so far. And thanks so much for joining me again here on this wonderful Sunday, April 13th, 2025. I really appreciate you guys for joining me here. It's a good day, it's a sunny day in the Bay Area here. It's been a fantastic weekend of sunshine and no clouds and just a slight breeze. It's been really nice. So I just got back into my apartment here this morning/afternoon. Kind of did some chores and tidying up here, and now we're back ready to get working and learning here once again. Thank you guys for joining me here. Let's go ahead and get things loaded up. Let's go ahead and do it. We're back. Dun 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 dun. All right. There we go. Hello, Mr. Mahan. Welcome in once again. Welcome back to the stream. All right. All right, you guys. We are back here getting into chapter 6 of Pro Git. Feeling good, feeling great today. Should be a good day today to get things started. All right, GitHub. Account setup and configuration. All right. All right. Hey, Shaxoid. Hey, Tim. Welcome back in, you guys. If you guys are part of the early crew, leave a thumbs up on the stream. I really appreciate you guys for joining me once again here. Let's go ahead and get the Twitch going while I'm here. Settings. Put. Okay, that's great. Jeez, man. Allergies have been kicking my butt lately. How about you guys? The triple and quadruple sneezes are back in season. Not fun. All right, you guys. Let's go ahead and get this going. Thank you guys truly for joining me here and for being here. Let's get reading on to chapter 6. I believe that this one might be a little bit long. 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, maybe not. This one might not be that long. I thought chapter 6 was pretty long. Well, this page is pretty long. Yeah, this page is really long. All right, whatever. We'll get through it here. Probably take us about an hour. Okay. GitHub is the single largest host for Git repositories and is the central point for collaboration for millions of developers and projects. A large percentage of all Git repositories are hosted on GitHub, and many open source projects use it for Git hosting, issue tracking, code review, and other things. So while it's not a direct part of a Git open source project, there's a good chance you want to or need to interact with GitHub at some point while using Git professionally. This chapter is about using GitHub effectively. We'll cover signing up and for managing an account, creating and using Git repositories, common workflows to contribute to projects and to accept contributions to yours, Git's pragmatic interface, and lots of little tips to make it easier in general. If you're not interested in using GitHub to host your own project or to collaborate with others that are hosted, you can simply skip to Git tools. Account setup and configuration. First thing you need to do is set up a free user account. Simply visit github.com to do so. Okay. Choose a username that isn't already taken and sign up. Next thing you want to see is the pricing page For upgraded plans, it's safe to ignore this for now. GitHub will send you an email to verify the address once you are provided. Go ahead and do this. Clicking the Octocat logo at the top left of the screen will take you to the dashboard page. Now you're ready to use GitHub. As of right now, SSH access. As of right now, you're fully able to connect to GitHub repositories using the HTTPS protocol, authenticating with the username and password you just set up. However, to simply clone public repositories, you don't even need to sign up. The account we just created comes into play when we fork projects and push to our forks later. If you'd like to use SSH remotes, you'll need to configure a public key. If you don't already have one, see generating your SSH public key. Opening up your account settings using the link at the top of the window. Then select SSH keys section on the left-hand side. From there, click add an SSH key, give your key a name, paste it into this, contents of your, or whatever you named it. Next, if you wish to change the avatar or whatever, change the picture. Email address, you can add an email address. The way that Git maps your Git commits is to your users by email address. If you use multiple email addresses in your commits and want GitHub to link them up properly, you need to add all the email addresses you use in the email section of the admin section. In add all your email addresses, you can see all the email addresses. If GitHub sees any of these commits or repositories, will be linked to your user now. Okay, two-factor authentication. All right, whatever. That's just signing up. Instruct for creating GitHub contributing to a project. Now that your account is set up, let's walk through some details about what that could be useful in helping you contribute to an existing project. If you want to contribute to an existing project to which you don't have push access, you can fork the project. When you fork your project, right, forking. GitHub will make a copy of the project that is entirely yours. It lives in your namespace and you can push to it. Creating a copy of a GitHub repository that is now entirely yours to push to. This way, projects don't have to worry about adding users or collaborators to give them push access. People can fork a project, push to it, and contribute their changes back to the original repository by creating what's called a pull request, which we'll cover next. This opens up a discussion thread with code review, and the owner of the contributor can then communicate about the change until the owner is happy with it, at which point the owner can merge it in. To fork a project, visit the project page and click fork button at the top right of the page. After a few seconds, you'll be taken to a new project page with your own writable copy of the code. The GitHub workflow. GitHub is designed around a particular collaboration workflow centered around pull requests. This flow works whether you are collaborating with a tightly knit team in a single shared repository or a globally distributed company or networks of strangers contributing to a project through dozens of forks. It is centered on the topic branches workflow covered in Git branching. Here's how it generally works. Fork the project, create a topic branch for master, make some commits to improve the project, push this branch to your GitHub project, open a pull request on GitHub, discuss and optionally continue committing. The project owner merges or closes the pull request, sync the updated master back to your fork. This is basically the integration manager workflow covered in the integration manager workflow, but instead of using email to communicate and review changes, teams use GitHub's web-based tools. Let's walk through an example of proposing a change to an open source project hosted on GitHub using this flow. Tony is looking for code to run on his Arduino programmable microcontroller and has found a great program file on GitHub. The only problem is that the blinking rate is too fast. We think it's much nicer to wait 3 seconds instead of 1 between each state change. So let's improve the program and submit it back to the project as a proposed change. We click fork button as mentioned earlier to get your own copy of the project. Our copy of this project is now at this link. where you can edit it and clone it locally, create topic branches, make the code change, and finally change back to your local copy on GitHub. Clone our fork of the project locally, create a descriptive topic branch, make a change to the code, check that the change is good, commit our changes to the topic branch, push our topic branch back to our GitHub fork. Now if we go back to our GitHub fork, we can see that GitHub noticed that we pushed a new topic branch and presents us with a big green button to check out our changes and open a pull request to the original project. You can alternatively go to the branches page to locate your branch and open a pull request from there. If we click that green button, we'll see a screen that asks us to give our pull request title and description. It's almost always worthwhile to put some effort into this, since a good description helps the owner of the original project determine what you're trying to do, whether your proposed changes are correct, and whether accepting the changes would improve the original project. We also see a list of commits in our topic branch that are ahead of the master branch, in this case just the one, and a unified diff of all the changes that would be made should this branch get merged to the project owner. Hey Sparty, welcome back in, dude. Appreciate you for joining me again. How's it going? What you working on tonight, guys? Let me know what you guys are studying. If you guys are new here, consider subbing. We're almost to 17 hundo. All right. Let me go ahead and change the Git title. I mean the Twitch title here. Edit stream info. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. All right, let's keep moving here. Let me put this up there. Okay. When you hit create pull request button on the screen, the owner of the project you fork will get a notification. Someone is suggesting a change and the link to a page with all the information on it. Iterating on a pull request. At this point, the project owner can look at the suggested change and merge it, reject it, or comment on it. Let's say that they like the idea but would prefer a slightly longer time for their light to be on than off than on. Where this conversation may take place over email and the workflow is presented in distributed Git. On GitHub, this happens online. The project owner can review the unified diff and leave comment by clicking on any line. Once the maintainer makes this comment, the person who opens the pull request and indeed anyone else watching the repository will get a notification. We'll go over the customizing this later, but if you had an email notifications turned on, Tony would get an email like this. Anyone can also leave general comments on the pull request. In pull request discussion page, we can see an example of the project owner both commenting on a line of code and then leaving a general comment in the discussion section. You can see that the code comments are brought into the conversation as well. Now the contributor can see what they need to do in order to get their changes accepted. Luckily, this is very straightforward. Where over email, you have to re-roll your series of submits and resubmit it to the mailing list. With GitHub, you simply commit the topic branches again and push, which automatically updates the pull request. Oh, interesting. In pull request final, you can also see that the code comment that has been collapsed into the updated pull request since it was made on that line, since that has since been changed. Adding commits to an existing pull request doesn't trigger a notification, so once Tony has pushed his corrections, he decides to leave a comment to inform the project owner that he has made the requested change. Files change tab on this pull request, you'll get the unified diff, that is the total aggregate difference that would be introduced to your main branch if the topic branch was merged in. The git diff terms, it basically automatically shows you the git diff master branch for this branch this pull request is based on. The other thing you'll notice is that GitHub checks to see if the pull request merges cleanly and provides a button to do the merge for you on the server. This button only shows up if you have write access to the repository and a trivial merge is possible. If you click it, GitHub will perform a non-fast forward merge, meaning that even if the merge could be a fast forward, it will still create a merge commit. If you would prefer, you can simply pull the branch down and merge it locally. If you merge this branch into master branch and push it to GitHub, the pull request will automatically be closed. This is because this is the basic workflow that most GitHub projects use. Topic branches are created, pull requests are open on them, a discussion ensues, possibly more work is done on the branch, and eventually the pull request is either closed or merged. Now that we have covered the basics of contributing to a project on Git, let's cover a few interesting tips and tricks about pull requests so you can be more effective in using them. It's important to understand that many projects don't really think of pull requests as queues or perfect patches that should apply cleanly in order, as most mailing list based projects think of patch to series contributions. Most GitHub projects think about pull request branches as iterative conversations about a proposed change, culminating in a unifying diff that is applied by merging. This is an important distinction because generally the change is suggested before the code is thought to be perfect, which is far more rare with mailing list based patch series contributions. This enables an earlier conversation with the maintainers so that arriving at the proper solution is more of a community effort. When code is proposed with a pull request and the maintainers of the community suggest a change, the patch series is generally not re-rolled, but instead the difference is pushed as a new commit to the branch, moving the conversation forward with the context of the previous work intact. For instance, if you go back and look again at the pull request final, you'll notice that the contributor did not rebase his commit and send another pull request. Instead, they added new commits and pushed them to the existing branch. This way, if you go back and look at this pull request in the future, you can easily find all the context of why discussions were made. Pushing the merge button on the site purposefully creates a merge commit that references the pull request so that it's easy to go back and research the original conversation if necessary. Keeping up with the upstream. If your pull request becomes out of date or otherwise doesn't merge cleanly, you want to fix it so the maintainer can easily merge it. GitHub will test this for you and let you know at the bottom of every pull request if the merge is trivial or not. If you see something like this, the pull request does not merge cleanly, you want to fix the branch so it turns green and maintainer doesn't have to do extra work. You have two main options in order to do this. You can either rebase your branch on top of whatever the target branch is, normally the master branch of the repository you forked, or you can merge the target branch into your branch. Most developers on GitHub will choose to do the latter for the same reason we just went over in the previous section. What matters is the history and the final merge, so rebasing isn't getting you much other than a slightly cleaner history and in return is far more difficult and error prone. If you want to merge in the target branch, you make your pull request mergeable. You would add the original repository as a new remote, fetch from it, merge the main branch of that repository into your topic branch, fix any issues, and finally push it back up to the same branch you opened the pull request on. For example, let's say that the Tony, whatever this is, example we used before, the original author made a change that would create a conflict on the pull request. Let's go through those steps. So you add the original repository as a remote named upstream. You fetch the newest work of that remote. Okay. You merge the main branch and then you fix the conflict that occurred. One of the great things about Git is that you can do that continuously. If you have a long-running project, you can easily merge from the target branch over and over again and only have to deal with conflicts that have arisen since the last time you merged, making the process very manageable. If you absolutely wish to rebase the branch to clean it up, you can certainly do so, but it's highly encouraged not to force to push over the branch that the pull request is already opened on. If other people have pulled it down and done more work on it, you run into all the issues outlined in the perils of rebasing. Instead, push the rebase branch to a new branch on the GitHub and open a brand new pull request referencing the old one, then close the original. Your next question may be, how do I reference the old pull request? It turns out that there are many, many ways to reference other things almost anywhere you can write in GitHub. Let's start with how to cross-reference another pull request or an issue. All pull requests and issues are assigned numbers and they are unique within that project. For example, you can have a pull request number 3 and issue number 3. If you want to reference any pull request or issue with any other one, you can simply put #number in any comment or description. This can also be more specific if the issue or pull request lives somewhere else. Write username #number if you're referring to an issue or pull request in a fork or repository you're in, or username /repo #number to reference something in another repository. Let's look at an example. Say we rebased this branch in the previous example, created a new pull request for it, and now we want to reference the old pull request from the new one. We also want to reference an issue in the fork of the repository and add an issue in a completely different project. We can fill out a description like cross-references in a pull request. When we submit this pull request, we'll see all the rendered like cross-references rendered in a pull request. Notice that the full GitHub URL you put in there was shortened to just information we needed. Now if Tony goes back and closes out the original pull request, we can see that by mentioning it in the new one, GitHub has automatically created a trackball event in the pull request timeline. This means that anyone who visits the pull request and sees that it is closed can easily link back to the one that superseded it. The link will look something like the link back to the new pull request if the closed pull request in the closed pull request timeline. In addition to issue numbers, you can also reference a specific commit by SHA1. You have to specify a full 40-character SHA1, but if GitHub sees that in a commit comment, it will link directly to the commit. Again, you can reference commits in forks or other repositories in the same way you did with issues. Linking to other issues is just the beginning of interesting things you can do with almost any text box on GitHub. In issue and pull request descriptions, comments, code, comments, and more, you can use what is called GitHub flavored Markdown. Markdown is like writing in plain text, but which is rendered richly. The GitHub flavor of Markdown adds more things you can do beyond the basic Markdown syntax. These can all be really useful when creating useful pull requests or issue comments or descriptions. The first really useful specific GitHub specific Markdown feature, especially for use of pull requests, is the task list. A task list is a list of checkboxes of things you want to get done. Putting them into an issue or pull request normally indicates things you want to get done before you consider the item complete. You can create a task to do this. If we include this in the description of our pull request issue, we'll see it rendered like this here. Okay, interesting. This is often used in pull requests to indicate that all you would like to get done on the branch before the pull request will be ready to merge. This is the really cool part, is that you can simply click the checkboxes to update the comment. You don't have to edit the Markdown directly to check tasks off. What's more, GitHub will look for tasks lists in your issue and pull request and show them as metadata on the pages that list them out. For example, if you have a pull request with tasks and you look at the overview page of all pull requests, you can see how far done it is. This helps people break down pull requests into subtasks and help other people track the progress of the branch. You can see this in an example. These are incredibly useful when you open a pull request early and use it to track your progress through the implementation of the feature. You can also add code snippets to the comments. This is especially useful if you want to present something that you could try to do before actually implementing it as a commit on the branch. This is also often used to add example code of what is not working or what pull request could implement. To add a snippet of code, you simply have to fence it in backticks with Markdown, right? If you add a language to the name like we did with Java, GitHub will try to syntax highlight the snippet. In the case of this example, it would end up rendering like so. If you're responding to a small part of a long comment, you can selectively quote out of the other comment the superseding lines with the greater than character. In fact, this is so common, so useful that there is a keyboard shortcut for it. If you highlight the text in a comment and want to directly reply to it, hit the R key. It will quote the text in the comment box for you. Once rendered, the comments will look like this. Finally, you can use emojis in your comments with this character. Emojis take the form of name anywhere in the comment. Images. This isn't technically GitHub flavored Markdown, but it's incredibly useful. In addition to adding Markdown images, links, and comments which can be difficult to find and embed URLs for, GitHub allows you to drag and drop images in text areas and embed them. If you drag and drop images to upload them and auto embed them, you can see a small parse as Markdown hint above the text area. Clicking that will give you a full cheat sheet of everything you can do with the Markdown in GitHub. Once you've forked GitHub, a GitHub repository, your fork exists independently from the original. In particular, when the original repository has new commits, GitHub informs you by a message like the branch has 5 commits behind. Your GitHub repository will never be automatically updated by GitHub. This is something that you must do yourself. Fortunately, this is very easy for you. One possibility to do this that requires no configuration, for example, if you forked from this repo on GitHub, you can keep the master branch up to date like this. You check out the master, you pull, and you push. If you were on another branch and return to master, fetch changes from and merge them into master, push your master branch to origin. This works, but it is a little tedious having to spell out and fetch URL every time. You can automate this work with a bit of configuration. Git remote add fetch pro git branch add ProGit as this repo as ProGit, fetch ProGit, branch upstream, and then config. Add the source repository and give it a name. Get a reference to the ProGit branches, in particular master. Set your master branch to fetch from the ProGit repository or remote. Define the default push repository to origin. Once this is done, this workflow becomes much simpler. Git checkout master, git pull, git push. If you're on another branch, return to master. Okay, this approach can be useful, but it is not without downsides. Git will happily do this work for you silently, but it won't warn you if you make a commit to master, pull from Git, and then push to origin. All of these operations are valid with this setup, so you have to take care never to commit directly to master, since the branch effectively belongs to upstream repository. Interesting. Okay. Hey, Wing Hong, welcome back, dude. Julio Enrique, how you doing, man? Welcome. Appreciate you for joining me here. How's it going? All right. We're almost through this chapter. Maintaining a project. Now that you're comfortable contributing to a project, let's look at the other side, creating, maintaining, and administering your own project. Let's create a new repository to share our project code with. Start by clicking the new repository button, and from the drop down, usernames, whatever. This takes you to the new repository form, public or private. All you have to do is provide a project name. The rest of the fields are completely optional. So since you have no code yet, GitHub will show the instructions on how to get a brand new repository, connect an existing Git project. Now that your project is hosted on GitHub, you can give the URL to anyone you want to share your project with. Over HTTPS as this, and over SSH as this. Git can fetch from and push to both of those URLs. If you're working with other people and you want to give commit access to, you need to add them as collaborators. If Ben, Jeff, and Luis all sign up for GitHub accounts, and you want to give them push access to your repository, you can add them to your project. Doing so will give them push access, which means they'll have both read and write access to the project and Git repository. Click the settings link at the bottom of the right-hand sidebar. Then select collaborators from the menu on the left-hand side. Then just type a username in the box and click add collaborator. Managing pull requests. Now that you have a project with some code in it and maybe a few collaborators who also have push access, let's go over what to do when you get a pull request. Pull requests can either come from a branch in a fork of your repository, or they can come from another branch in the same repository. The only difference is that one is a fork and other often from people where you can't push from there. The only difference is that the ones in a fork are often from people where you can't push to their branch and they can't push to yours, whereas the internal pull request, both parties can access the branch. For these examples, let's assume you are this guy and you have created a new Arduino code project named Fade. Someone comes along and makes a change to your code and sends you a pull request. You should get an email notifying you about the new pull request, and it should look something like this. There are a few things you should notice about this email. It will give you a small diff stat, a list of files that have changed in pull request and by how much. It gives you a link to the pull request on GitHub. It also gives you a few URLs that you can use from the command line. If you notice the line that says git pull URL patch 1, this is a simple way of merge in a remote branch without having to add a remote. We went over this quickly in this. If you wish, you can create and switch to a topic branch and then run this command to merge the pull request changes. The other interesting URLs are the diff and .patch URLs, which, as you may guess, provide unified diff and patch versions for the pull request. You could technically merge in the pull request work with something like this. Collaborating on the pull request. As we covered in the GitHub flow, you can now have a conversation with the person who opens the pull request. You can comment on specific lines of code, comment on whole commits, or comment on the entire pull request itself using GitHub flavor markdown everywhere. Every time someone else commits on a pull request, you will continue to get an email notifications, so you know that there is activity happening. There will um, every time someone else commits on the pull request, you continue to get email notifications. Once the code is in place and you like to want to merge it in, you can either pull the code down and merge it locally, or use with the git pull URL and branch syntax, and we saw earlier, or by adding the fork as a remote and fetching and merging. If the merge is trivial, you can also just hit the merge button on the GitHub site. This will do a non-fast forward merge by creating a merge commit, even if its fast forward merge was possible. This means that no matter what, every time you hit the merge button, the merge commit is created, and you can see the merge button and add instructions. If you decide you don't want to merge it, you can also just close the pull request, and the person who opened it will be notified. If you're dealing with a lot of pull requests and don't want to add a bunch of remotes or do one-time pull requests every time, there's a neat trick that GitHub allows you to do. This is a bit of an advanced trick, and we'll go over the details of this a bit more in the ref space, but it can be pretty useful. GitHub actually advertises the pull request branches for a repository as sort of pseudocode branches on the server. By default, you don't get them when you clone, but they are there in an obscured way, and you can access them pretty easily. To demonstrate this, we're going to use the low-level command, often referred to as plumbing command, which we'll read more about in Plumbing and Porcelain, called ls remote. This command is generally not used in a day-to-day Git operation, but it's useful to show us what references are present on the server. If we run this command against the Blink repository we were using earlier, we'll get a list of all the branches and tags and other references in the repository. Of course, if you're in the repository and you run git ls remote origin or whatever remote you want to check, it will show you something similar. If the repository is on GitHub and you have any pull requests that may have been opened, you'll get these references that are prefixed with refs-pull. These are basically branches, but since they're not under the ref/head/, you don't get them normally when you clone or fetch from the server. The process of fetching ignores them normally. There are two references per pull request. The one that ends in head points exactly to the same commit as the last commit in the pull request branch. So if someone opens a pull request in our repository and their branch name is bugfix and it points to commit A5A775, then our repository will not have a bugfix branch, since that's in their fork, but we will have a pull this head that points to this. This means that we can pretty easily pull down every pull request branch in one go without having to add a bunch of remotes. Now you could do something like fetching the reference directly. This tells Git connect to the original remote and download the ref names this. Git happily obeys and downloads everything you need to construct that ref and puts a pointer to the commit you want under. You can follow up with git merge fetch head into a branch you want to test in, but that merge commit message looks a bit weird. Also, if you're reviewing a lot of pull requests, this gets tedious. There's also a way to fetch all of the pull requests and keep them up to date whenever you connect to a remote. Open up the git config in your favorite editor and look at the origin remote. It should look something like this. That line that begins with git fetch equals to this in a ref space. It's a way of mapping names on the remote with names of local Git directory. This particular one tells Git that things on the remote that are under ref's head should go in my local repository under ref remote's origin. You can modify this section to add any ref space. The last line tells Git all refs that look like this should be stored locally in this. Now you save that file and do git fetch. Now all the remote requests are represented locally with refs that act much like tracking branches. They're read-only and they update when you do a fetch. This means it's super easy to try the code and pull requests locally. The eagle eye among you would note that on the end of the remote portion of the ref space, there's also a refs pull merge ref on the GitHub side, which represents that commit that would result if you push the merge button on the site. This can also allow you to merge before even hitting the button. Come on. This book's getting a little too dense here. Not only can you open a pull request that targets the main or master branch, you can actually open a pull request targeting any branch in the network. In fact, you can even target another pull request. If you see a pull request that is moving in the right direction and you want to have an idea for a change that depends on it, and you're not sure it was a good idea, or you just don't have access to the target branch, you can open a pull request directly to it. When you open a pull request, there is a box at the top of the page that specifies which branch you're requesting to pull to, and which you're requesting to pull from. If you hit the edit button at the top right, at the right of that box, you can change not only the branches but also which fork. GitHub also has pretty nice notifications. Any comment can start with @character, usernames of people. You can also mention usernames who are not in the drop down, make it faster. Once you post a comment with the user mentioned, that the other user will be notified. If someone gets mentioned on a pull request or issue, that we subscribe to it. There's an unsubscribe button on the page. When we mention notifications here, with respect to GitHub, we mean a specific way that GitHub tries to get in touch with you in events happening. Notification center in GitHub. The two choices: email or over the web. Web notifications only exist in GitHub. Okay. If you click on that, you'll see a list of all the items that have been notified about, grouping in the filter. There's also a mute button. All these tools are useful in helping large number of notifications. Email notifications are the other way you can handle through GitHub. If you have it turned on, you'll get emails for each notification. We saw examples of this. The emails will also be threaded properly. There's also a fair amount of metadata embedded in the headers of the emails that GitHub sends you, so it can be really helpful for setting up custom filters and rules. For instance, if we look at the actual email header sent to Tony and the email shown, we'll see the following among the information sent. There are a couple of interesting things here. If you want to highlight or reroute emails to this particular project or even pull requests, the information in message ID gives you all of the data, the format. This is an issue. For example, the type field would have been issues rather than pull. There are a couple of special files that GitHub will notice that are present, the readmes, whatever. The other special file that GitHub will recognize is the contributing file. If you have a file named contributing with any file extension, GitHub will show opening a pull request when a contributing file exists. Generally, there are not a lot of administrative things you can do on a single project, but a couple of items that might be of interest are changing the default branch, transferring a project. If you like to transfer a project to another user, transfer of ownership. This is helpful. Yeah. Hey, Alex. How's it going? You guys are funny with this whole professor thing. Manage, and organization. In addition to single user accounts, GitHub is what we call organizations, like personal accounts. Organizational accounts have a namespace. Okay, so organizational accounts have a namespace where all their projects exist, but many other things are different. These accounts represent groups of people with shared ownerships. Normally, these accounts are used for open source projects or companies. An organization is pretty easy to create. Just click on the plus. First, you'll need to name your organization, provide an email address that you can invite others to be co-owners of that account if you want to. Follow these steps, you should be the owner of a brand new organization. Like personal accounts, organizations are free if everything you plan to store there will be open source. As an owner in an organization, when you fork a repository, you'll have the choice of forking into your organization's namespace. When you create new repositories, you can create them either under your personal account or under any organization that you are an owner in. Just like in your avatar, you can upload an avatar. Teams, organizations are associated with individual people by way of teams, which are simply a group of individual users or accounts or repositories within the organization, and what kind of access those people have in those repositories. Okay. So you can have different teams within your organization. To manage teams, you can click on the team sidebar. Control the levels. Each team can have read-write access to certain repositories. When you invite someone to a team, you'll get an email of them letting them know they've been invited. Any mentions work much the same as they do with the individual users, except that all members of the team are subscribed to the thread. A user can belong to any of the number of teams, so don't limit yourself to only accessing controlled teams. To only access control teams. And special interest teams like UX, CSS, and refactoring are useful for certain kinds of questions. Audit log. Organizations also give owners access to all information about what went on under the organization. You can do You can go to the audit log tab and see what events have happened at an organizational level, who did them, and where in the world they were done. All right, last section here for chapter 6. Scripting, GitHub. Yeah, Alex, isn't that quite interesting? I wanted to talk to you guys about that. This whole like new trend of vibe coding and coming out. Um, it's really interesting. I've seen quite a few like engineers like on YouTube and things like that that have experience and offers from, software engineering companies that just that are just vibe coding, like in terms of like I actually never seen them write code on their own. So it's really interesting. Like I don't know. I don't want to say that they don't know how to write code because I'm sure they do, but like I don't know. I I feel like it would just like backtrack your it would just become a crutch that you would end up relying on and then overall backtrack your learning, right? So I don't know. What do you guys think about this whole new phenomena or trend of vibe coding and what you guys see online about ChatGPT and prompt engineers and stuff like that, especially coming out? And it's really starting to come to light that ChatGPT can't solve these problems people are thinking that it can solve. And so it's kind of the colors are starting to show. It's kind of interesting. We're all going to eventually be ChatGPT prompt engineers. I just started. I'm going through Python. Hey Nick, how's it going, dude? Thanks for the reply and my comment on the other vid. What's your Discord linked? Yeah, got it. Yeah. I just started going. I'm going through Python crash course book, but it's super annoying and stressful getting stuck on something. But when you figure out finally, it's a nice flow of things working. Yeah, dude. Nick, I just don't. I don't think like my advice, I guess, is just don't take things too hard and make things too hard on yourself. I just enjoy the process of learning. Let things come to you as they are. You can't force things on yourself if they're not meant to, be at that moment in time. So if you're not getting it at that moment in time, then just take a step back, let it soak over you for a few days or hours or whatnot, and then come back to it. I really found that by just kind of limiting the stress of learning, removing all of those harsh deadlines you would have in college for, completing tests or projects, and just letting the learning really come over you as like a wave, and just letting, and then, and just letting it be, and just seeing where it goes from there rather than just like forcing things. It has been really, I don't know, a good experience in my opinion, because I've just been able to avoid that kind of burnout and, you know, or whatnot. AG, how's it going? Thanks for coming in, dude. Appreciate you for joining me. For those that are new here, my name is Michael. I'm 26. I've been teaching myself how to code for about 10 months, and I have a degree in human biology and a minor in chemistry. I work as a formulation chemist, and I just really am interested in and passionate about programming and learning more. I really would like to eventually get into the field in some way or shape or form in code in my everyday occupation. I think it would be a lot of fun, and I'm documenting my progress here live on the channel as I learn and teach myself through various mediums such as CS50, personal projects, books like we're doing right now, and things like that. So thanks so much for being here, and subscribe. Thanks for the subs, guys. 1672. Hopefully we can hit maybe 1680 by the end of today. That'd be a cool goal. Athletes are in trouble too. These robots got jumpers too. I don't know. It feels weird. Last week someone just copy pasted whatever AI told them to do, and it almost works. But I can't even discuss this code with them. They didn't even read it. Yeah, I mean, I've been watching a couple of like day in the life videos of some developers and things like that. I find them pretty interesting, just because they put on like a pretty elevated lifestyle. But and I kind of think it's funny sometimes. But I was watching those, and if and a lot of times they were saying that they're on call like on weekends and things like that for certain but errors or crashes or whatnot. And so imagine like I don't know, is this feasible or reasonable to think? Like imagine you're on call on like a Saturday or a Sunday after working all week, and you get paged to come in, and it's because you have to fix and discuss with someone and fix a thing that someone just copy and pasted from AI without actually knowing what they wrote. And then um, imagine you get called in and paged for that when it could have been avoided in the first place if they had just read and done it themselves or whatnot. And so I don't know. And so it might take a lot more work to fix that problem on that Saturday or whatnot. It just seems really interesting. What do you guys think? I like this discussion. Let's keep it going. We're almost done with the chapter 6 though, so I'll keep reading here. Um, I feel like ChatGPT is a modern day calculator will make people even more stupid. Interesting. So do you guys think it's pointless to start learning to code with that being true about AI and think to find a job as a super beginner in 2025 is crazy? No, I really, Nick, like I said in my previous streams, and, my philosophy isn't, I really think that those that are truly passionate about coding and computer science, about innovating the space, about learning more, will prevail in the space. I think that the people that are the biggest naysayers of AI and the biggest, opposed to the changes and implementations of AI are those that are scared of it because they think it's going to put them out of a job. Because I think that they don't actually truly enjoy programming and computer science for what it is. If they were truly passionate about advancing the space, they would kind of accept AI and welcome AI if you kind of think about it, right? I don't know, it's just a thought because they would want to further progress the easeability, the fast pace, the pace of it. They would want to progress it, but people that are NIMBYs or whatever of AI, not in my backyard for AI, they I think that the majority of those people probably are people that are just um, not in it for the right reasons, in it for the money, are scared because of the money and right now. But I like to, you know, it's really hard because money is such a prevalent issue in today's society. I mean, you have to have it to survive, unfortunately. Whereas like 20 years ago, you could kind of 20, 30 years ago, you could kind of get by on some, medial salaries and make it work. And so it's really switched to where it's the necessity now to have to work to live. And so when you have that dynamic, it's kind of difficult to, you know, yeah, I don't know. Once AI can complete an entire application grabbing data from the backend and loading that into Angular, then I will be worried. Obviously, you will spend a lot of time learning before even trying to get jobs, but you get the point. Just another tool to help your daily workflow. But like you said, if you don't know what you wrote, then you can cause serious issues. Yeah, I would think so, right? It's interesting to think about. I mean, I'm a noob in this as well. Like I don't have a perspective of being in a developer position, so I don't know. But in theory, but um, like with a lot of things, I really think that if you're passionate about the space, you want to see it advance. But I mean, Nick, I'm a super beginner too, dude. In retrospect or in theory, like I've only been doing this 10 months. I'm 26 years old, so I've been doing this less than a 26th of my life. So, um, like really in comparatively to other people that's quite small, but in those 10 months I've been able to come quite a long way through this learning and practice by building projects like my small business manager or my task tracker or creating this channel and documenting over 500 hours of studying and learning with and doing over like 50 elite code problems and really working on my strings and my data structures and things like that and understanding like it's I think it's easy to make excuses like, oh, I'm not going to start because it's kind of pointless, when in reality, I think just doing anything that's productive will just bring you benefits in general, whether it be like you'll just become, um, more knowledgeable in multiple fields and just become smarter, more intelligent, sharper with your thinking, right? It's like working out, you're working out your mind. So if you're learning something and it becomes obsolete, then, yeah, it might be a bad investment, but you still took away some learning and growth and personal growth. So, yeah. All right. So now that we've covered all the major features and workflows of GitHub, but any large group or project will have customizations they want to make or external services they may want to integrate. Luckily for us, GitHub is really quite hackable in many ways. In this section, we'll cover how to use GitHub hook system and its API to make GitHub work how we want it to. Services and hooks. The hooks and services section of GitHub repository and administration is the easiest way to have GitHub interact with external systems. First, we'll take a look at the services. Both the hooks and services integration. So hooks, services, found in the settings section of your repository, where we previously looked at the coding, adding collaborators. There are dozens of services you can choose from. Most of them integrations. There are dozens of services you can choose from. Most of them integrate into other commercial and open source systems. Most of them are for contiguous integration services, bug issue trackers, chat room systems, documentation systems. In this case, if we hit the add service button and email address, the email address we specify will get an email every time someone pushes to the repository. Services can listen for lots of different types of events. If there's a system you are using that you'd like to integrate into GitHub, you should check to see if there's an existing service integration available. For example, if you're using Jenkins to run tests on your codebase, you can enable the Jenkins built-in service integration to kick off a test run every time someone pushes to your repository. Hooks. If you need something more specific and want to integrate with a service or site that's not included in the list, you can instead create and use the more generic hook system. GitHub repositories with hooks are pretty simple. You specify a URL and GitHub will post an HTTP payload to that URL on any event you want. Generally, think of this works as a way. Generally, the way this works is you can set up a small web service to listen for a GitHub hook payload and then do something with the data when it's received. The configuration for a webhook is pretty simple. In most cases, you simply enter the URL and secret key and hit add webhook. There are a few options for which events you want to GitHub to send for a payload. For a push event, when someone pushes new code to any branch in your repository. So this is an example. In order to develop and test something like this, you have a nice developer console on the same screen where you set up a hook. You can see the last few deliveries that GitHub has tried to make for that hook. For each hook, you can dig down into what was delivered. If it was successful in the body and headers for both the request and the response, this makes it easy to test and debug your hooks. The GitHub API. Services and hooks give you way more ways to receive push notifications about events that happen. What if you need more information? What if you want to automate something? GitHub APIs come in handy. GitHub has a ton of API endpoints and how to comment. Basic usage. The most basic thing you can do is simply get request on any endpoint that doesn't require authentication. This could be a user or read-only information on an open source project. For example, if we want to know more about a user named this, we can run something like this. There are tons of endpoints like this to get information about organizations, project issues, and commits. Just about anything you can publicly see on GitHub, you can use the API to render arbitrary markdown or find a get-ignore template. However, if you want to do an action on a website such as comment on an issue or pull request, or if you want to view or interact with the private content, you'll need to authenticate. There are several ways to authenticate. You can basic authentication with your username or password, but generally it's a better idea to use a personal access token. You can generate this from Applications tab in the Settings page. It will ask you which scopes you want this token and description, and make sure that's a good description. You feel comfortable with removing the token when your script or application is no longer used. GitHub will only show you the token once, so be sure to copy it. This also has the added advantage of increasing your rate limit. Without authenticating, you will need to be limited to 60 requests per hour. If you authenticate, you can make up to 5,000 requests per hour. You can use the API to do about anything you can do on the website. Changing the status of a pull request. There's one final example we'll look at since it's really useful. Each commit can have one or more statuses associated with it, and there is an API to add and query that status. Most of the contiguous integration and test services make use of this API to react to pushes by testing the code that was pushed and then report back if that commit has passed all the tests. You could also add this check to if the commit message is properly formatted. OctoKit. Although we've been doing things nearly everything through curl, a simple HTTP request in this example, several open source libraries exist that make API available in a more idiomatic way. At the time of writing this, the supported languages include Go, Objective-C, Ruby, and .NET. Hopefully these tools can help you customize and modify GitHub. All right. Sweet. Alex, just apply to Google or Amazon. You're already better than my average candidate. Maybe train LeetCode a bit more in case you're unlucky and get a difficult problem. Thanks, Alex. I appreciate those kind words. You're really nice. It's really nice to hear, that the hard work is, showing, and you guys are seeing, what the results being put in here. So, thank you so much, Alex. I'm really considering like around June to start like pushing out applications and stuff. I'm just honestly worried about the whole LeetCode stuff. I want to try to have my projects, like my small business manager and stuff, really be you know, my representatives of what I can do and whatnot. But I'm just worried about the leak code problems. It honestly stresses me out a little bit. It's the only thing that really causes me stress in terms of this learning of programming. And I just don't really like and enjoy doing the leak code problems. I'd much rather build projects. I think the legal problems are fun sometimes, but honestly, they just seem kind of silly at the end of the day. I think projects, like actually showing that you can put ideas from paper into code and from your head into code and make them work, I think that shows extreme, you know, like dedicated, like, because you're having to do this in your free time. Like you can do anything in this world. You can go watch movies, like you can go water ski, you can go snowboard, but you're sitting here in your room building an application that probably won't be used ever. Like, and like, just so you can prove that you know what you're talking about. I don't know, it seems really interesting. Hey, Outlaw Delta, how's it going? Tim wants me to start applying for jobs. Um, Interview failing leak code is part of the process. Hey, Go Guppy on Twitch. Thanks for coming in, dude. I appreciate you so much for coming in. How's it going? What you been working on, Go Guppy? Welcome back in. All right. Cool. So that is chapter 6 of Pro Git. So I know we kind of did a little bit more skimming through these, things, but like I said, is we can always revisit these chapters if we have instances where we're needing to, script on GitHub and stuff. So we're just kind of getting through a general pass through this book, and we don't really need to take as deep of notes as I did at the first couple of chapters, right? This is where the Git basics, I really wanted to get good notes for this because this is like we'll be using a lot of these basic Git toolings and stuff, but these later chapters are more about these kind of more nuances, such as Git on servers, if you're managing projects and whatnot. So we can always come back and revisit these tools and get more information about them when we need to and actually face these kinds of issues. But I think it's kind of silly for us to kind of really grind these home if we're not going to get super experience right now with them. Tim, right? I've been avoiding that one like the plague, and I'm going to get it like first one off the jump, right? Um, Saw your mini bio below. Love it? What you referring to, Guppy? Are you talking about like my bio on Twitch? My background. What's my background on Twitch? Is it my dog? I forgot. Oh no, go back. I don't want to do that one. Oh, whoops. I'm on someone's stream here. No! Don't! Oh no. Get out of here. Okay, hold on. Gotta get my email address here. Thanks for the follow, Go Guppy. Appreciate you for the follow on Twitch, man. You're awesome. Thanks so much. Welcome in. What you would like to work on, Go Guppy? What do you program in? And are you a student or are you a what are you learning? I need to get this login code here. Here. There we go. Some of these streams just pop up. That's my background. My mini bio. I'm not sure. Um, oh, a history as a biochemist. Awesome. Where else are you streaming? I was just at my, oh, I stream on YouTube as well. I have about almost 1,700 subs on YouTube. Hey, Wilmer. No, I stream every day. I've been streaming. I've been learning for about 10 months, and I've been streaming every day, learning for about 5 or 6 months now. So feel free to join along here, Wilmer, and join my study sessions here, and just learn with me, or just put me in the background and hold yourself accountable to study. Thanks for coming in. Um, Thanks for the warm welcome. I work as an for AWS as senior software or SA covering financial services. What is an SA? Don't let the title throw you. As an SA, we deal with all types of stuff. Oh, we Amazon SA love folks that have unique backgrounds like yours. Solutions architect. Okay, cool. What does that kind of what does that entail? Do you do a lot of programming and stuff? Yeah, for those that are new, my name is Michael. I have a degree in human biology and a minor in chemistry, and I work as a formulation chemist. I've been teaching myself how to code for 10 months. We're building projects right now. We just finished chapter 6 uh, of Pro Git here. We've been reading this, so if you guys want access to these notes, you can get them on my uh, GitHub. All my notes, I have about 8 or so repos of books and notes and personal informations on there and courses or something on my GitHub. So feel free to check those out. A lot of great information, and join my Discord link down below. I have my YouTube description if you want to chat with me offline, but also get access to kind of the roadmap I've created for um, learning. We'll say finish chapter 6. I would love to work at Amazon. I order from them all the time. I am an Amazon shareholder, that's for sure. I believe in the company long term. I'm a big long term supporter. I think that they're going to take over. um, we deal with everything. Generally, a solutions architect needs to code in some languages. Mine is Python. We have a depth in AWS services. Cool. Well, Go Guppy, based on my knowledge of Python so far, what would you say, like, now, if you don't mind me picking your brain here, like if you look at my small business manager project, I'm using object-oriented programming, like an inheritance of certain classes and libraries to actually do these. I have pretty good file structure here for my organization of classes and tabs within my Tkinter program, and database syncing here. So based on this current like workflow and abilities, where would you say, like, now you can be honest. I'm just wanting an honest opinion. Like, you can be honest, based on like maybe your abilities in Python, or maybe some of your coworkers, or what you see in your peers. Like, what would you suggest maybe I learn on Python that I don't already know and I'm integrating, or what do you think about this current level? I'm often trying to just think about like where to go next and stuff too sometimes. Tim wants me to ask for a referral. I'll take a referral. That's funny. You guys are funny. Tim, don't fumble. Um, We work backwards with a customer problem. It can be really specific at times, and a lot of times it's derived from a customer writing less than stellar code. Oh, so you have customers that write code, and you're trying to fix customers' code? Like, I'm not really sure. I honestly, I don't have a lot of perspective on what AWS services entail. Oh, here we go. Go Guppies is now on the YouTube. Hey, welcome over on YouTube, Go Guppy. Thanks for coming in, dude. I appreciate you so much. You're awesome, man. How do I get to my Twitch dashboard? How do I get to the dashboard? Oh, there we go. Um, you have a vertical you're aligned to. For me, it's financial services, and I have a few named customers. Interesting. For solutions architect, you certainly need to learn how to build apps in the cloud, like stuff like EC2, autoscaling, VPCS, cloud formation, and how to connect all of that. Okay. Yeah, I don't know anything about AWS, so I might be shooting myself in the foot here by saying that, but I think the honesty is the best policy in regards to this because, but I'm certainly down to learn and figure out more. No one really understands it, Outlaw says. You guys are funny. All right, well, should we go ahead and get into our project here? I'd recommend skillbuilder.aws, AWS Skill Builder. Okay, I'll copy this and I'm going to put this in our Discord so that we can reference this later. What is going on? Why won't the Discord load? Quit. Discord. There we go. Let me put this in the live stream chat. AWS Skill Builder. Okay, I'll look at that. For me, it's financial services. If you asked me, hiring a good SA. You're the voice of AWS representing AWS. It requires being able to translate tech to business outcomes along with working with tech teams. Tim wants me to mention, I forgot to mention the part about how I skipped Christmas to code. Oh. So I'm trying to see, I think I'm missing some of your chats here, Gup. You said, oh, hold on. Oh, got you. Never mind. How do I go to the stream dashboard? Hey, we got a raid from Glump here. Oh no, that was 3 days ago. Whoops. My bad. I was too far down in the dashboard. I am who I am. Welcome. You're a biochemist. Nice, dude. What kind of products do you make as a biochemist? Are you in R&D, manufacturing, QC, QA? What kind of area are you in? I am who I am. Thanks for joining me, dude. Uh, yeah, Guppy, you're you're coming in both chats. That's fine. No worries. You're funny. Michigan-based OU, Oakland University. Oakland University has in Oakland, California? Cool, dude. I'm right in that ballpark. Oh, Michigan. There's an Oakland, Michigan. I didn't know that. All right, you guys. So this is the small business manager project that we've been building for a few weeks now. This is like the GUI version, right, that we've been building. And I think yesterday, no, 2 days ago, we finalized the balance sheet. So at this point in time, the project is does everything that it needs to do. So it's really cool. You don't ball, Mike. Yeah, I don't ball anymore. Not in it anymore for sure. Okay, so this is our small business management application that we've been building, right? Where you have the ability to take in items under the current calendar year. You have the ability to take in expenses under the current calendar year. You have the ability to transact those items under the current calendar year. And then you have the ability to go ahead and populate, it will go ahead and automatically populate and generate an income statement based off of your transactions and expenses. And then your balance sheet will automatically be generated based upon your remaining inventory levels after you make these transactions. Now, we also have the ability to be able to return items multiple times if in the worst case scenario item is bought, sold, bought, or bought, returned, bought, returned, sold, returned, sold, returned, sold, returned, right? If you can't just get rid of this item for some reason, you have the ability to return it multiple times within the system currently. And then you populate an income statement for those returns, increasing allowances, reducing cost of goods sold. Whereas with you sell items, you increase cost of goods sold, increase gross sales. Um, so it's really, really cool. It's working so far as we need it to do. The only thing now is we have to just develop the settings menu, which is going to be just a basic, some, you know, options for the user to be able to edit the individual parameters of this tailoring to them to their business. So what does that mean? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change over this size entry into a combo box with all of our available sizes that we're going to need to locate within our business class itself. So as you guys know, in our classes, we have our business class, which is housing, some default information here by default, but we were able to override the business class information with this read business function. So the read business function will take a JSON of the business information, right? That can be customized for this business. Currently, I have a dummy name in there, but they're going to be able to add additional like test platform or additional methods to their expenses if they have various bank accounts that they want to specify that this money came out of, or they have an additional transportation method for how they get their items to their customers or whatnot. So yeah, there are some default methods that I've kind of built into the program itself, but we want to be able to have the user dynamically have this tailored to whatever their situation is. So yeah, Guppy, go for it. Make a recommendation. I'm all ears. Thanks for coming in, dude. Yeah, I was thinking about that too as um, I build something with my background in biology and chemistry. It's just really interesting because now that I've been kind of in the field of biochemistry, actually making products, I really don't use a lot of my college education anymore for actual, company value. Like a lot of my, like I do use a lot of like basic lab techniques and testing, but a lot of it is on-field training. And over the past 3.5 years, you know um, I've been really dedicating to learn coding obviously for the past year. So a lot of that knowledge, I'm not going to say it's faded, but it's just I need a little bit more of a refresher on some of my stuff from back in college, the more advanced chemistry and biology. But I think it would be cool to maybe do some like automated redox reactions, like a program that like will spit out like redox reactions and balance them for you, or provide you the electron. Maybe an electron configuration program would be cool, where you could put in an element and it could provide you the electron configuration. I also wanted to maybe try like a modeling program of various chemical, molecules, or functional groups, or like we could just start off with just basic carbon chain organic molecules, just carbon hydrogens and oxygens and things like that, nitrogens. What else is organic? I can't think off the top of my head, but and then we could expand it to inorganic molecules from there for like what are those called that like NH3 and PO4, like what are those called? What are groups like NH3 and PO4 called? Functional groups, polyatomic ions, yeah. So I think that would be cool. I'd love to see, so you said, in line with your previous educational experience, biochemistry, that shows a lot of value to employers who are able to develop programs that speak of relevant industry in an articulate way. I'd love to see machine learning such Gen AI proof of value. Yeah, so I have, funny enough, I have a Python machine learning book that we're going to get into eventually. I think we're going to start needing to crack this book open sooner rather than later to really start diving into this. I was just a little bit apprehensive of getting into this book at the moment just because of the math needs of this book. I took Calculus 1 my freshman year of college, so it's been quite a while since I've seen some of these, mathematical notations. But I have this book here that I picked up and I've been wanting to get into, so we might have to take a stab at this sooner rather than later. What do you guys think? Um, Jupyter Labs next. Interesting. Random cut forest. What you mean random cut forest? Serverless code and event-driven automation is the future. Yes. Interesting. Right. So the whole purpose of this project, right, is uh, this project does have some utility because my girlfriend or my girlfriend is a business owner in her own right, and so she has a small business that does this exactly, and she currently has to do all this on her own, and she hates it. And so I built this for her basically to ease her pains and have her be able to just have the inventory, expenses, and transactions automatically generate income statements so she can provide her accountant at the end of the tax years just this information, and it'd be over. It'd be very simple. So I was planning on, like, on my resume to include this project and say that I was, hired as a freelance engineer to develop this program for a complete business ledger for um, a local business, or something like that, and try to play it like that. I think that'd be cool. Let's look up random cut forest. He said random cut forest. Huh. Random cut forest is a unsupervised algorithm for detecting anomalous data points within a data set. Oh, it just takes out outliers? So it's kind of like a Krebs model. You guys ever seen a Krebs? Is it a Krebs model? No, that's a citric acid cycle. What is I thought there's a model. That's a citric acid cycle from college. I got my models mixed up. There's a model for detecting outliers as well that I use at my work. There's an Excel model that we use. Oh, I forgot. I recommend checking out GitHub's AWS samples. I was mentioning one of the many algos that are used in machine learning. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. For those that don't know, so I work as a formulation chemist, right? And I pitched to my company an opportunity to actually automate. I currently have to hand calculate a chemical matrix via, balancing certain solution concentrations across various volumes. So it kind of sounds like a lot, but I have to account for how much volume I have of these various lots of material, and then figure out what ratio I could combine them into balance and produce certain outputs of ranges for, analytical, evaluations like protein, cholesterols, ferritins, things like that. So um, I I currently have to do that by hand, and it takes me a few hours to come up with a few keys. And I actually pitched to my team, through a transformation project, to work with the bioinformatics team, part of my company, to work and automate this process. And so I have a meeting actually this week on the 17th with the bioinformatics team to actually go over setting up some automation for that um, process. So hopefully, fingers crossed, something good comes out of that, and I can be involved in that process of working with the developer, and I could use that as well. I'm in the just Bay Area, California Bay Area. Struggle out here in this very high cost of living. Okay, so the settings, right? We need to create the settings here. So let's first, what we need to do is we need to move in the business class. We need to go ahead and set up a self dot, we'll say, item sizes is going to be a list, right? Where we're going to have in here by default be the sizes of what we have in our check size function. So in our auxiliary functions, we have a check cost, check size, available sizes are here. So I'm going to take this, move this over to our business class. And then what we're going to do is in our auxiliary, we have check sizes. That's going to take in the business as a parameter. And then what we're going to do is provide the check size function in our transaction, not our transaction, our inventory tab, right? So we have on the add here, we get the information for the size. If it's blank, we throw the error. We call the check size function here. We're going to pass in the business equals to business, or self.business here. Whoops. Right, so now we have access to that sizing information within this function of auxpy, of auxiliary check size. And so then we can say here available sizes in business dot item sizes. So now it can be dynamically accessed via this variable rather than having it hard coded and it's in the class, and so the user can now update it. So then what we'll do is we'll go back into our inventory tab. We'll make the sizes. So this is our matrix. Here's the add item. Okay. Here's the size entry label. Here's the size. We're going to make this a combo box, right? And we're going to give it values, right, equal to, and what we'll give it is the business dot business dot sorry, item sizes. Okay, so now that's a combo box for the item sizing. So if I go ahead and run, we get an output now, and now we have a combo box here for all the sizes. So now they can select and have and know and visually see their available sizing options rather than having to type it in. Got a jet here. Feel free to reach me out anytime. I'll message you on Twitch, my LinkedIn. All right, sweet Guppy. I appreciate you jumping in, and I'll be sure to hit you up, and we can network on something. Thanks for jumping in, man. Appreciate you being here. You're awesome, man. Okay, so now we have this combo box. Now I'm going to reduce. I want to keep consistent with our other combo boxes. So in our expenses, we have a few. Let's go ahead and look at the sizing we have. So here we call the width of 15. So I'll copy this into here. We'll provide a combo box here with the width of 15. So now if we run, it'll be slightly smaller. Perfect for our sizings. So now what we can do is let's make sure we can still add an item. So we'll say 2025-04-13 test size is going to be extra small cost, $10. Add, boom. Okay, still there. Income statement, nothing updated. Perfect. Balance sheet went up $20 for unsold inventory. Okay, so now what we can do is in the settings menu, let's go ahead and set up a couple of frames. So we want, let's just make a general frame in the middle. So what we need is okay, so let's go to our settings tab right here. We need to pass in business into our settings tab. We need to pass in, that's it, I think. So now let's go ahead and get this going. So we'll say that we don't need the text variable here. We'll say that self.business is equal to business. And now we can go ahead and program. Let's go ahead and add in a frame. Settings frame. We'll say settings frame is equal to the ttk dot frame. We'll put in here self. We'll also say that this is going to, oh, not, do you put self for the frame? Yeah. So I'm just going to take this. It's easier. Put the settings, so self dot. We'll make this rename settings frame, right? We add self, and then we relieve the solid border with 1. We config, so the frame is going to be the entire width, so we don't need to set custom configurations. We'll place it and propagate. Perfect. So now if we run here, place, run, settings, no frame. So I'm just going to say dot pack. We're going to pack it in. So now if we go, so it's not there still. We added it. We configure great. So if I comment out this. Why am I not getting a frame? Where's my frame? Well, if I take this entire thing, will I get a frame? if I put this back into here and make this right, and then if I run, do I see the frame now? I do. Interesting. So then I want to make the width. So if I get rid of the config, does the frame go away? Yeah. Okay, so the config is what's having it stick. So let's config, let's call, I think it's sticky. Can we put sticky here? No. Oh, because the frame is taking up the entire width of the thing. So let's give a padding of this frame of like 100 pixels. So if we run this, right? No. Huh. As Veneros, welcome. Thanks so much for joining me. How you doing? Appreciate you so much for being here. Welcome, welcome. So then what do I have my, let's go to my balance sheet. What am I doing here? I'm calling matrix frame, configure, and I add it. So now AppPy, it should have it in there, like that. So then, okay, so now let's go ahead and let's do this. Okay, so doing good. We're just working on our CS50X final project right now. Appreciate you guys for joining me and being here. Thank you guys so much. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to add in some settings, right? Let's go ahead and make so business name label is equal to ttk label. Did look at my, so for labels, what am I doing for labels? Frames. So you add it to the whatever you want, the parent, you have text, font, wrap, justify. Okay. So we have the parent that we want to add it to, which is the self.settings frame. We want to make a text equal to quote business name as such, and then am I calling, oh no, so I don't put colons. So business name, we're going to have justify quote center. Okay, and then let's add this. So we have the name of the label, and then we have business name entry. It's going to equal a ttk.entry for self.settings frame. The entry is going to, that's fine as is. So let's go ahead and add this. So business name label dot grid. We'll put it what are my options for grid again? Row column. So row is equal to 1, or row, yeah, 1, column 1, 0, right? For the label, and then we're gonna come down here and for the entry do the same thing, right? And then we configure 0. So then we're gonna add one more label here. So settings label, title label is equal to a ttk dot label for self dot settings frame, given a text equal to settings menu, and then we're going to justify center on this, and then we're going to go settings title label dot grid, and we'll put it on row 0, column 1, and then we'll do settings title label dot columns what is it called? It's called call span. What's the span? Call span in Tkinter. Oh, so it's an attribute within the grid. Okay. So we can call span here equals to 2. So now if we run this, we should have, so let's see here. Oh, okay, so we need to add in another column here and give it some equal weight. So column 1, row 1. You run app here, settings. Okay, now we have settings menu here. So I want this to be in the middle here. So right now it's 0 and 1. Row 0, column 1, column span 2. On the add item label, row 0, column 0, column span 2. Column 0. Okay, the name, row 1, row 2, column 0, column 1, column 1, or the labels on 0. The labels on column 0, the entries on column 1, so you get them next to each other. So now if we go app settings, okay, let's just get this label in the middle. So we call 0 column span 2. Let's configure column in row configure. So we say that we create the label, justify center. Okay, now it's in the middle. Perfect. Right now it's directly in the middle. So now below this, we're going to add in a label. And we're going to grid that label at row 1, column 0. Now this is in the center, but down here. We're building the Small Business Manager, our CS50X final project. Yeah, I took CS52. How do you like it so far, Asvernos? Okay, so we have business name down here, and I want an entry box next to it. So let's go business entry. For the name, we grid that onto row 2, one below this one, but the first column. So now if we run app settings, okay, it's there. Why is it over there? Business name label. Business name entry. So the entry is here. Column 0. Okay, we need to configure another row. So row 1, row 2. So now we get this. So this is over here in the right column. This is over here in the left column. But this has justify center. And this doesn't, so this is in a different row? Oh, it needs to be in the same row. Okay, that's why. Same row, but different column, that's why. So now we have that next to each other. Perfect. So now we just need these to come together rather than sticking to the right side of the frame. I need to stick to the left side of the frame or the column. So I'll say if I say justify here and put center, what happens? Nothing. Okay. So but if I say sticky grid sticky equals west, right? So now it should stick to the west side of that column. No. Why isn't this working? So if I remove the justify center for this, what happens? Nothing. So this is in the middle. Oh, this is sticking to the right. This is sticking to the right. So I want to put this onto the left side of the frame. So how can I move this decanter box to the left side of the column? So the entry box is being placed onto the frame. So let's try to put the anchor how do I give it an anchor? For the label, can I give an anchor? No, I can't. I can't give the entry a label anchor. My entry is stuck to the right side of the column when using .grid into Kinzer. Okay, well that didn't work. Almost configured how the widget is sticky pattern. Make sure the column is allowed to expand. Just horizontally. So it did want me to use the sticky. So if I call sticky on the entry.grid and call east-west, will that stretch it all the way to the total length? No. Crap. Why can't I get these labels right next to each other? I don't want to stretch it east-west, but just stick it the west side of the column. Your entry might look right aligned even though it's sticking west. Huh. North, east, southwest. What does that look like? That stretches it for that entire... Oh, okay. Oh. I need a column configure for 1. There we go. So now I'll just have it sticky west. There we go. And then I'll have business name sticky right. Sticky east here. Right, and so now they should be next to each other. Perfect. Okay, so then can I give that a little bit of padding? Pad X by 20 for the label. So now it should have some spacing in between like that. There we go. So then I'll go ahead and add in some additional settings now. Perfect. So we have the business name. And then we're gonna have a button for this, for change name. And call save. That'll okay. So then we have that. Let's go ahead and add a few more things here. So we want, this is going to be, what are the settings we have? Sizes, right? So that's, business sizes label is equal. So what I'll do is I'll just take all of this information. This is the, we'll say business name setting. Copy this down and then make this the business sizes setting. Item sizes. Business, so we'll make this item sizes label. There, and entry here, here, and here. Let's go ahead and get some music going. Let me go to the YouTube Creator Studio and get some of those good tunes going. Yeah. Let's get some tunes going here, boys. Customize Creator Studio. Oh, they got rid of the. Oh, no way. Huh, they got rid of the Creator Studio. Huh, dang. I thought I had saved stuff. That sucks. I'll have to look into that. I don't know why the Creator Studio is no longer offered on YouTube for partners. Right. Let's do this guy here. Okay. Yeah, right, Tim? They took down the Creator Studio. Okay, so now we have business item sizing setting. So what this one is going to have is a size label. We're going to add it to the settings frame, called this business sizes, right? What we're going to do is we'll also put in a label, or two of them. So I'll add in a current business item sizes, right, is equal to, or label is going to be equal to a ttk.label for self.settings frame with the text equal to quote current item sizes, and then we're going to put in another label right below this, right, for current item sizes label listed. Is there a list widget in Tkinter? Okay, so Mohan, we're coding right now. Come join us, my friend. So we've got the current business item sizes label, and then the listed here. So we'll just list these, and we'll have the text be business dot item sizes. Right? And so then if we go ahead and populate these, dot grid onto row, this is going to be above the previous one, so row 1, column, it's going to be this guy here. And then we're going to do the same thing for the current businesses items listed label, and then add the grid with the sticky west here. And then we'll have to make these column row 2, and then add in an additional row to our configuration for row 2. So now if we go run, stir attribute, no attribute item sizes. Object has no attribute item sizes. So in business class self.item sizes. Stir object. Huh. Let me call print business.dict. So it thinks business is a stir object. So my inventory tab though, I'm calling business. Oh, hold on, balance sheet. Let's go to my app pie and make sure we're passing in business to the settings tab. No, we're not. So passing in settings here. So we'll say app dot business. Okay. So now if we run, there we go. I got all the values for on that print for the actual settings, so that worked. So now we're getting that object. And then if I run the app here, okay, it's perfect. You see all the custom current sizings. Why is it highlighted though? So my business name. So this has got to be row 2. This has to be row 2. This has to be row 3, and then we have to add in an additional row to this configuration for weight of 3 and run app. And now we have this. So we have business name, current setting sizes, business sizes. Okay. So then we'll go so let's add a size. Let's go, all right, business sizes label. This is going to be add size. Right, this is going to be, we have add size label, add size entry, right? So now this should it should still look the same. Okay, but it should say add size now, perfect. So now what we'll do is we'll say we need a button here to the right, so we'll have a third column. Or a button below it to add it, right? Let's do that. So let's put a let's add size. So let's just call the add size. Add size. Add size button equals to ttk dot button. We're going to add it to self dot settings frame, cause the text to be quote add size, right? And let's put that on add size button dot grid. We're going to add it to row right below row 4, column 0, column span 2. So now this should be right below, like that, in the middle. Perfect. So now you can add the size button right there. Nice. So we'll need to add and we'll put in a remove size button right next to it. So we'll have that. We'll remove the column span. We'll have this come down and be remove size button. Let's put this on same row but column 1. Now if I quit, run settings, add size button there. So how do I want to do this? So I should have 3 columns, right? So we'll do 3 columns, right? And then what we'll do is we'll just throw in row 0, column 2, column 1 here with no column span for this just sticking in the middle. And then okay, so now if we run, what does it look like? Okay, so now we need to have this be put into column 2, or column 1 for all of these. So this goes into column 1, column 1, column 1, column 1, column 1. So now if we run, now they're all in the column here. But it's putting the business name down on the left side of the business name. And then adding them. So we'll have to reverse these so that one gets added first and then pushed out of the way by the other one. Right? This is going to be the remove size button. Let's just make this count. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So why is this coming before? So I should have 4 columns then, actually. So we have 3 columns. Let's add in a 4th column. And then what we'll do is we'll have the title go into row 0, column 1, and then call span 2, right? So now that'll stay in the middle. The name setting will be in column number 1, or yeah, row number 1. Row number 1, this will be column number 2, row number 1. Then the item size here, current sizing, row 2, column 1. Column. So the label, let's put these back how it was before. So label and then listed. And put this on column 2. And then we have this, it goes down to row 3, column 1, column 2. And then row 4, column 1, column 2. So add, okay, hold on. So add size label, add size entry, 1, 2, and then add size button. So we'll say add, remove, add or remove size button. And then we'll put that here, add / remove size, add and remove column. So that column 1, so we want this to column span 2. So now let's see what that looks like. Why are those coming before? Current sizes. So the business name is coming before. So business name. The entry is on 1, column 1. Oh. So the label, let's see, the label comes column 1, the entry comes column 2. Now we're gonna there we go, perfect. So that stays there. We'll say add item size. Add / remove. So you can add or remove an item size. So then add or remove item size there, and then we'll have one more for clear all item sizes. So let's add in another button here below. Right, so we'll add in another button here below for clear size button. we'll say this is clear sizes, clear all sizes. Clear all size row, column span 2, so this will be row 5. So now we have a button under there for clear to remove all of these sizes basically in one swoop. What you studying, Mahan? Okay, so now let's add a button below this business name to save. We have 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll put this button over here. So let's make the button for, let's make this row 4, and let's make this row 3, column 3. So now you have that there, column 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. And we need to sticky this to the west. No, remove the column span, just put sticky west. I want this to go. Let me get my whiteboard. Might need to draw this out better. Okay, so we have settings, menu, right? We then have name, an entry, and then an update, and then a update, or a update button. So the thing is we'll have name, entry, update. Then we have current sizes, current sizes, right? X, whatever. Then you have, that's it. Then a refresh button. And then you have add or remove, size, which will have an entry, and then a add / remove. And then we have right below this just a clear sizes. Okay, so let's put this into code. So we need 3 columns, 0, 1, and 2. So we need, 3 columns. we need to put the settings menu title in column 1 and have it not column span. The business name will go in column 0, and the entry will go in column 1, and then we have a business name update button. Business name update button dot button. Add it to the frame with a text value of update name. Or update. Okay. Then that goes to, so the name label goes on row 1, column 0. The name entry goes in the middle at column 1, and the button goes at column 2. Like so. So now if I run, quit. Okay. So that's right, that's perfect. So then what we'll do is we need to do the same thing. Current sizes needs to go over. So current sizes. Okay, so this is what I'll do. I'll just delete this. We'll take this chunk here, copy it, bring it down, move this back. This is going to be current sizes. Label. Current item sizes. Okay. We then have an entry box for so we're going to have another label, right? Which this will be, the text is going to be business dot item sizes. And then, so that's those two labels. Let's go ahead and grid those. So current sizes label, current sizes listed label. So this will be dot grid row. This will be row 2, column 0. So we go row 2, column 0 for this label. And the current sizes listed goes grid column 1, and then we have a current sizes listed button, refresh button, is equal to ttk.button with a place of self.settings frame and a text equal to refresh. sizes. Okay. Okay. And then we're going to grid this. Right. And we'll say that this goes in row 2, but column 2. Okay. Perfect. So if I run this, what happens? How does that look? Nice. So then how can I bring this business into here? Justify right. So if I call in the name settings, I call justify right for the label, for the entry stays, and the update I justify. No, that's for the text inside. No. So the justify doesn't do anything. If I take the label and I sticky it to the east, what happens there? So it comes in a little bit here to this, okay. So rather than sticking it to the east, let's just leave it, and then we can probably squish down this with sizing of this configuration. Okay, so now what we have is this, which is settings, right, with buttons on the right side here. Perfect. So refresh sizes. Okay, then we need to add or remove size label. So settings here, let's go here. Bring this down. Let's call the label, this is going to be add, remove item size, add or remove size label, add / remove item size. Here, row 3. And then now we have this one. This is going to be now an entry box, right? Entry. Row 3, column 1. And then the button here for add or remove. Add or remove size button. There. Perfect. So now this should say add / remove size. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so then what we'll have is a button here for below on its own row called clear sizes. So let's go settings tab, copy over this, do clear size button. Clear sizes, row 4, column 1, so in the middle. And then this is clear sizes, clear all sizes. So we need to move that down one more row. Row 4. So now we have that right below. Okay. So next up is going to be, that's for the size, categories and expense methods for the current methods and expense categories, and then the platforms for transactions, and then that's it. So the expenses, let's go here. So we're going to basically copy over what do we need to copy here? Alex wants elite code. Oh, elite code, my arch nemesis. So we'll copy over all of this, right? And then this becomes a business expense cats settings. So current expense categories. Right label, current expense categories. Right? We then have the current expense categories listed. Self-business expense categories. Okay. And then take this, put this here, take this, put this here, put this on row 5, row 5, row 5, and then take this current expense categories listed refresh button. Refresh cat expense categories. Okay. Add or remove expense category. Add or remove expense category. Right. And then take this guy. Make this row 6, 6, 6, 7. Clear expense category button, like so. So add current expense categories listed. Listed label. Hold on. Wait. Okay, so these are current. This is add, remove, size, entry. label. So we have the add remove expense category, current expense categories listed. No, hold on. So what do we have? We have the label for current expense categories, all the categories in the middle, and then a refresh button on the right side. Okay, and then below that we have add or remove. And then we need it add, remove, expense category entry. This is label. Entry. Add or remove. Add, remove, expense category button. Like so. Okay, so now we have business name, update name, current size, refresh, add remove size, clear all, current expense categories, refresh expense categories, then add or remove, then clear all. Add or remove expense category, clear all expense categories. So add or remove expense category, clear all expense categories. Perfect. Now if we run settings, nice. Perfect. So now what we can do is do the same thing for the methods. This goes down. Okay, this is expense method settings. Current expense methods. Gee. Methods. Oh. Method. Button. Make this. So this got to go row 6, 6, 6, 7, 7, 7, and then this has got to go 8. Our expense methods. method, refresh expense methods, current expense methods. Okay, now if I run this, okay, we just need to, so settings tab, we have how many rows? 9 rows. So this would be 7, this would be 8. 8, 8, 9, 9, 9, 10. We'll add in another column here for column 10, configuration of the weight, and boom, here, there we go. Okay, so now we just need to add a few more things here. We have the expense methods done. We just need to add the transportation, the platforms, and the transportation methods. Sale platform. Okay, so we'll come here to our settings tab, come down, copy this, down, right? We're gonna make this 11, 11, 11, 12, 12, 12, and then 13 for this. This is going to be transactions. Transactions, sale platform settings. Okay, current transaction platforms. So current transactions, current sale platforms. So current sale platforms. Listed label. Sale platforms. Okay. Add, remove sale platform label. Add or remove sale platform entry, sale platform, sale platform, sale platform, sale platform, clear, clear. Sale platforms. Right, so platforms. Now if I run, here's that. So let's then give it weight up to 13. 11, 12, 13. Now we have equal weight across all of those. So what I need to do though is I need to update this so it sticks over. How to move a button from center of cell to left. So then we have cell platforms, and we also need to do transportation methods, and then it's done. So let's come into settings tab. Let's copy down this one more time. It's gonna be transportation methods. Current trans methods, transportation methods. So this is going to be a row 14, 14, 14, refresh, sale, trans. This is going to be add, remove, sale, transport method. Add, remove, sale. Row 15, 15, 15, row 16. Okay, so now if I run up high, settings, boom. we need to give weight equal up to row 16. 14, 15, 16. Perfect. Nice. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to get these labels closer to here and these buttons closer to here. So we need to give greater weight to column 1. So if I give column 1 a weight of 5 and run, what does that do? That pushed everything further away. So I want to give a smaller weight of 0.5. Okay, so you can't do that 1. So I'll have to give these a weight of like 3 to push those columns closer inwards. And then what happens if I sticky the business name to the east and the label and the refresh button to the west? So we got the label for the name. We grid it and we go sticky west, east, and then entry stays, and then column we sticky quote west. What happens there? So now those come in way closer. Perfect. So let's go here and keep doing that. So we have sticky east for all of our labels. So here, 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 here. That's it. So now if we go app high, run. Settings. Okay. Now all those are way closer to the actual parameters here. And so now we need to do the west for these buttons. So let's come here, settings, go into here, take this sticky west, and go to each of these button populations and paste that in on these buttons that aren't in the column 1. Button.grid, 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 button grid, current sale platforms, button refresh, add or remove. There we go. So now if we run app high, like this, settings, there we go. So now you have appropriate information to the left, the fill in, and then the update box to the right. So let's give this column a little bit more weight so that it gives a little bit more spacing here for these other ones. So let's give the clear size some Y padding. So the clear all sizes button is in what column? Or what row? Clear. So size settings, clear all sizes in row 4. So we're going to take row 4 and give it a weight of like 4 and see what that does. How does that adjust our current? So it does create some more spacing here. So what if I just add an additional row here, a blank row? So let's go ahead and do this then. Let's create, this has a weight of 1. Let's say that the row 5 has a weight of 4. So that's pushed down a little bit more. So then if I go, what happens if I make like a weight of like 10, something huge? Really pushes it. Okay, so then what we'll do is we'll push. We gave this is our break, space break. We'll push all of the, after row 4, so we'll push this onto row 6, 6, 6, 7, 7, 7, 8, and then make 9 be our break. Give this a weight of 10. Then anything that has 9 needs to go up, so 8. So this is 9. So 10, 10, 10, 11, 11, 11, 12, 13 will be our break. Okay. So what's on dirt? So we had clear, so 13's our break. So this will be 14, 14, 14, 15, 15, 15, 16. Now 17 is our break. Okay, and then we call this would be 18, 19, 20, 21. So where's our last break on 17? 15, 16. So this will be 18, 18, 18. 19, 19, 19, and then a clear on this will be on the 20. So now if I run NumPy, boom, settings like this. Now it's broken up into sections. So you have some breakage in between each section here, below the clear all. So, and then we'll need to actually, oh shoot, we need another one here. Oh, that sucks. So we need one more below the business. So the business, the name, well, if I just give the name itself, so the name is in row 1. So I need to have, basically need to add one more column here, 21, make row 2 be a space break, have it be a 10, and then we'll have to go down here and push all these up. So this will be run 1 1 3 3 3 4 4 4 5, with the 6 being the space break. Right? And then we'll have to do this for all of these. So the 10 will become the space break. The 14 will become the space break. The 18 will become the space break. And then that's it. So then if I go here, run, settings, now I have the settings menu, business name, update, current sizes, update, with some spacing here. So if I go to like, if I make this like 25, what happens? Can you horizontal rule in cancer? I don't really like that. Let's go back. Okay, that's fine. So can I just give the business name then a little bit more weight on row 1? Give this a weight of 10. So that there's a little bit of spacing there. What if I give it like a weight of 100, something really large? Okay. So let's not go that high. Let's do like a weight of 30, and let's make our breaks a little bit bigger with a 20. right? So then what we'll have is this with the business name kind of separated, and then these kind of in chunks for the individual settings. All right. Cool. That looks pretty good. I liked it before. I'll just give it its own spacing then, 10. Okay. That looks fine. See, what we could do is we could place frame breaks like it's suggested. Sunken. You could take this frame relief. Solid border width 1. So let me take this into our settings, and let's just go like this. Row 1, row 2, 3, 4. This goes to here. I'll go like this. Dot grid row 5. Three. Configure the frame with some heights. Whatever. So this is what we were able to get today. So we have now a business name where you can update, you can see the sizes, refresh, add or remove a size. Current expenses or categories are these. Refresh, add or remove. You can add or remove a certain one, clear them all. Current expenses here. Update methods, add remove method, clear all methods. Sale platforms, refresh, add remove sale platform, clear all, or current sale platforms. So this would be transportation methods. So current sale transportation methods. So here we got down at the bottom current sale transp methods, and then this would be business dot transportation methods. Now if we run settings, shipping, delivery, pickup, and clear all methods. That needs to be plural at the bottom. Clear all transportation methods. So what I could do though is I could refactor this further into chunks, like sections, or tabs within this tab, basically. Can I get those even closer? I'm giving it a weight of 3. Can I give it like a weight of 5? Let's say like 10 here. And what does that look like? So these are pushed even further. So what if I give it like a weight of like 100? It just pushes these inwards. And what if I give this a weight of 100 as well? Well, it's just proportional, so it should look the same. Yeah, okay, so because the weight is ratio based, it equals out to the same ratio. So we don't need to do that, we can just do like 3. So if these were different, then the ratio would be different. 1 to 2 to 3. But it's not. Okay, cool. So this is what we got, guys. We have a settings menu now designed. And so next time what we'll do is we'll start implementing the actual event functions to capture and update these various informations. Right? Cool. All right, cool. All right, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off here. We streamed for 3 hours and 30 minutes today, so a really, really solid stream. We finished and read in its entirety Pro Git Chapter 6 today. You guys can get access to my notes on that in my GitHub link down below if you would like my personal notes on the Pro Git through Chapter 6 so far. Tomorrow we will read Chapter 7. We only have a few more chapters left. There's only 10 chapters in the book, so we'll be done with the book shortly here. Hey, A, thanks for coming in. How long do you study a day, bro? I've been peeping your channel. It's motivation. Thanks so much. That's so nice. Yeah, feel free to follow along here. And I stream every single day, me teaching myself computer science and working on various projects and courses and reading books. I have a 9-to-5 job as a formulation chemist, and I stream every single day after my job. I've been teaching myself for about 10 months and streaming every day for about 5. So we have quite the streak going so far. I mean, I did have a couple of days where I didn't stream here and there, but because I was on vacation. But for the most part, I do study though the material every day. One leak code? I don't know. It's already 10 o'clock. I got to get going here. My sleep schedule is already wrecked, Mahan. Is there an easy one that we can look at that'll take us like 10 minutes? If you guys aren't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. It really, really helps. Leave a thumbs up if you're here, part of the late crew. Thank you guys truly for joining me. I stream for about minimum of 2 hours normally, but like I said, a minimum of 2 hours. Today we're at 3 hours 15 minutes. Some days I do 4 on the weekends. Some days I do 6. Some days I do 8. So it really is crazy. But a minimum of 2 hours is what I dedicate to this, because it takes about 30 minutes to get kind of warmed up, and then an hour and a half of solid flow and state of studying and reading or working on projects and whatnot. So This is our current project that we're building into Kinter right now. This is the small business manager. And right, so you can take in inventory items and expenses. You can transact those individual inventory items, and then you can it'll auto-populate income statements for gross sales, allowances, which is returns, net sales, gross margin, net income, and then show you the balance remaining for those unsold inventory items and assets for those calendar years on your balance sheet. And then you can go ahead and edit these individual parameters tailored to your business within the actual settings here. So that's what I've got going here. So let's go ahead and really quickly, let's go to the inventory page, go to the add item chunk right here. So I want to take this font and here, I'm going to copy this font parameter and paste it to our settings tab, settings title label as an additional parameter here. So now that should be much larger. There we go, settings menu. So what I'll do is I'll actually just say business settings. So business settings. Now if you run appy, business settings. I spelled that wrong. Mike, you should add a button to save all changes, not one for each. I thought about that. But I don't want to have to, like, what if they accidentally forget to, like, so what if they do, like, new name here, right? And then they put in, like, a size small here. And then if I did an overarching, like, save at the bottom, I don't want, like, leftover, basically, like, leftover values resaved or whatnot. Like what if they type in new name here, they leave, they come back, and then they add in a size or something, and then I don't know, I'm worried that something might get changed in between submissions. And if you submit all at once, as in like a form, then I mean, what we could, no, I get what you're saying. Then we have an overarching save at the bottom. Or an update. Yeah, I'll have to think about it, how I want to structure it. I don't want them to have to, like, clear out all the values again if they just want to do one, or I also need to properly comma separate these list values. All right. So then we'll have to make this a 2-column setup rather than 3-column. Okay, so if we want it, we'll make it a 3-column setup, just a 2-column setup with equal weight. We'll then remove the buttons that are in our way here. This is gonna have to say Sticky West. Remove this button, call Sticky West. Remove this button, call Sticky West. This will be row 4, column 1, column 0, column span 2. For the clear. Then we go, the refresh button will go away. This will go Sticky West. The add remove label, that stays. Entry that stays. This goes Sticky West. And then we remove the 2 buttons. We keep the clear, and then we put this on 0, call span 2. So now we can remove the button, refresh buttons, call Sticky West here. Remove these buttons, call Sticky West here. Put this to column 0, call span 2. Sale platforms. Remove the refresh button, Sticky West. Add remove. This. Sticky West. Clear, column 0, call span 2. Remove the button. Make this Sticky West. Add remove. Remove this button. Call Sticky West. And then this is 0, call span 2. So now if we run this, we have this. So business settings, title, is getting a call span column 0, call span 2. There we go. So then on the parts that we have lists, right, where we call lists, let's put colons here. So for the current expense categories, current expense methods, current sale platforms, current sale transportation methods. Boom. So now we have this, like that. So then what we'll do is we'll put on an additional 2 columns here, 2 rows, make this 21 and 22. Have this be a weight of 10 for an additional space break. And then on row 22, we're going to have a button for basically save, row 22, column 0. Right, this is going to be called save settings button, save settings, and then right here. And then we'll copy this down and do a refresh settings button. Put this on column 1 for row 22 and call refresh settings. So now if we run, we'll have 2 buttons at the bottom called save and refresh. Okay. And so then we could sticky these. So this one will sticky quote east, and then this one will sticky west. So now that those will come closer together, like so. And then we can give them an X pad so that they're not perfect. We can give this an X padding, pad X of like 20. So now that they'll be separated by about 20 pixels in the middle, like so. So then what I can do is add a pad X to the information here so it moves out slightly. So what I'll do is I'll take this pad X of 20 and I'll add it to everywhere basically where I say sticky east. Here, 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 here. So now we should have some separation a little bit more in between each values. Perfect. Nice. That looks really clean. Nice suggestion, Mahan. Hey, Cron. How's it going? Thanks so much for joining me here. I really appreciate you joining me on Twitch, and feel free to follow along if you wouldn't mind. I stream every single day, teach myself how to code and from scratch. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me. You're awesome. Thanks for coming in here, Cron. Hey, someone. How's it going? We're making a small business manager. This is our CS50X final project. And so this is pretty cool so far. So then what I'll do is for these buttons, I'll put their width so that they're the same despite the actual text, formatting. So here I'll say on this, we're gonna give it a width equal to, let's say 15. And do the same thing for this button here. So now no matter what the text is inside, they'll be forced to be the same size. Perfect. That looks really nice. So then we'll do the same thing for the clear alls, but we'll make those like 20. So clear all, this will be a width of, let's say 20. So let's look at that. How does that look? Does that capture enough space? Yes, that does. So we're going to add this to each of the clears. So here, current clear here, current clear here. Here. Okay, so now if we go app high, they should all be the same size now. Perfect. That looks really good. That looks awesome. Nice. Oh, a clear button on the field here. Okay, yeah, we could add that. Well, this doesn't clear the entry. This removes everything in the saved list. So if you want to basically wipe out your entire list of expenses or methods, you press this button and it'll wipe out the entire values. That's what the clear is for. So then should I just have this be update then? So it'll push this? Because right, if I have a save setting here down at the bottom, I could have it so they could either put in a single value or a list. Yeah, exactly. I'll have to add in an additional safety so that when they click this, it comes up and says, "Are you sure?" basically. Yeah. And then okay, so what I'll do is I'll have these entry boxes accept single values or space separated values for additional things. So I could say if I want to remove equipment and shipping, right, and then press save, if it picks this up and detects that these values, individual strings, are within the current, then it'll remove them, else it'll add them. So I could say if I want to do like test 2, it'll now add test and test 2, but if I gave values either singular or multiple space separated to remove, it'll remove both of those, shipping and delivery, and leave equipment. That's why I had that individual add button, so that they could directly add just like right then and there of that individual instance, rather than having to, okay, saving and then save, and then updates for everything. So there's definitely multiple ways we gotta think about for user friendliness here. All right, you guys, that's going to be it for me. I'm going to sign off right here. Thank you guys truly for joining me today. We streamed for 3 hours and 35 minutes. It was a lot of fun reading chapter 6 of Pro Git and finishing that up, and then which was on GitHub, and then working on our settings menu for the small business manager here. Just imagine not using dropdown. But then they won't be able to add any items through that same window, right? If they do a drop down, right? Because right now I'm incorporating the add and remove within the same entry box to save myself some space. So if I add in a combo box for items to remove or values to remove, then I'm going to have another line for each of these. Interesting. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the Discord. Give me some suggestions, but I'm going to sign off here at 10:30. This is my mark to head out. So thank you guys so much for joining me again. It truly was a fun. A complete separate text like wipe drop down. Yeah, it would have to be a new entry. Basically what I had before. I'd have to give an additional box or a button to basically do the deletion of that individual one. So just trying to figure out best ways to optimize the space. Okay. All right, you guys. I'm gonna sign off here. Thanks so much for joining me again. I'll see you guys later. Please ping me on the Discord if you want to chat offline. And do I need to add it for all? Well, yeah, they're gonna have the option to add or remove any of these sizes or anything they need to have an add or remove for every single one of them. That's why I had this originally, so that you could put in strings of your own and detect like strings. Well, I would need a box for each category, so I'd have to list all of the current sizes in a drop down for delete, current equipment, expenses for a drop down, methods for a drop down. Now I'm going to bed. I'm signing off here, Mahan. I've been streaming for over 3.5 hours. So I'm done for the day, boys. Peace out. I'll talk to you guys later. See you tomorrow. Bye, guys.